You don't remember the date, not even the reason, but you remember the exact feeling. From this moment on, this man doesn't represent me anymore. There was no fight, no drama, just a heavy, dry disappointment built up over time, and when it finally overflowed, you didn't explode, you simply disconnected, like flipping an old switch and thinking, inside me, you're dead. Your father was still alive, still walking through the house, opening the fridge, commanding the room with his eyes, but inside you had already buried him. You stopped listening, stopped trusting, stopped admiring. He spoke, but you didn't absorb. He gave orders and you obeyed on the outside, but inside, you laughed. He wasn't a terrible father, but he was a broken man, absent even when present, cold even while providing, rigid, sometimes aggressive, a man who confused respect with fear and authority with volume. He never said, "I'm proud," never said, "I'm sorry," never looked you in the eyes like someone who could admit, "I'm flawed too." He shaped you with yelling, pressure, and the bitter silence of a man who also had a worse father than him, and you grew up in an emotional minefield, where every attempt at connection was punished with distance, until the day you made your decision. No ceremony, no shouting, you killed him. Internally, not with rage but with surgical disregard, you buried his image in a dark corner of your mind, and kept going, thinking that was maturity. I don't need him anymore. I'll do it my way. I'll succeed without ever becoming him. But what you called strength was just abandonment in disguise, because without realizing it, you didn't just kill the real father, you killed the symbolic one too, the one who was supposed to offer structure when no one else would. And now, you feel it. You try to be strong, but you crumble easily. You try to lead, but sabotage yourself behind the scenes. You try to love, but can't receive care without feeling weak. You've become the man you swore you'd never be, but without the solidity he once had. Your performance, your effort, your constant hunger for validation, because you killed the father before building anything in his place. Now the silence consumes you, and you finally see, when you buried your father, you buried your only chance to grow with roots. Every unexplained order, every cold silence at the dinner table, every time he exposed you in front of others like it didn't hurt. You remembered it all, not in a notebook, but in your flesh. And that invisible notebook became a quiet promise, a promise of polite revenge, a vow to never become like him. You never told anyone, but every man knows this feeling, that silent decision, I'll never speak to my child that way. I'll never use fear as a weapon. I'll never be the man who silences the world with pride. And so the archetype is born, the teenage soul in quiet rebellion, smiling on the outside but inside, building an identity made only of one thing, not him. Everything you wear, believe, pursue, or reject is designed to be the opposite. You hate sports? Perfect. He loved them. You avoid suits? Of course, he wore them daily. You crave freedom? Naturally, he was a prison, but no one told you this. Defining who you are by what you hate is still a form of dependence. You think you're being authentic, but your entire life still orbits a man you claim to have outgrown. He became your anti-model, and an anti-model is just another form of hidden idol worship. You rebel, but you're still reacting to him. You say you're free, but you're still living in opposition. That's why even in your 30s or 40s, his presence still lingers in your decisions. Even if he's gone, even if he's dead, he still lives, as an unresolved shadow. And the cruelest part, you're becoming exactly what you swore you wouldn't be. But without the strength, without the clarity, without the backbone he had. You inherited the harshness, but not the stability, the silence, but not the authority, the distance, but not the respect, because you ran, but you ran with no map, and now you drift, angry at him, ashamed of yourself, and completely lost. When a man erases the father from his soul, but doesn't replace him with an inner reference, he doesn't become free. He becomes untethered, unanchored, disoriented, exposed. No structure, no foundation, no emotional compass to turn to when life gets heavy. You grew up believing you were free, but you were just a functional orphan, surviving, pretending to know, masking your insecurity with borrowed lines and copied poses. Your father became an absence that didn't liberate you. It imprisoned you. Because now you're the man who doesn't know what to do when no one's watching. Sure, you work, you pay your bills, you smile on Instagram, but inside you carry a structural crack, an invisible fracture that opens every time someone depends on you, every time life demands clarity, direction, or stability, and you feel it. In your body, in your voice when it breaks, in your shoulders when they drop, in your eyes when they avoid contact, in the words you swallow, afraid to sound too harsh, or the outbursts that erupt because you never learned how to hold firm without hurting. You hated your father so much that now you can't be one, not to others, not even to yourself. Your masculinity has become a reaction, a fragile, performative version. You try to become the opposite of what you saw, but all you've done is become someone who can't sustain anything for too long. Relationships, you give too much, or shut down completely. Work, you procrastinate, freeze, or sabotage yourself when success gets too close. Purpose, you speak of it often, but can't even keep your house in order. You're not weak, you're just unrooted. And an unrooted man is a danger to himself, because when the storm hits, and it always does, he has nowhere to return. You killed the father, but all that remained was the echo of absence, a bitter silence, unconscious. That now comes to collect, and if you don't face this, you'll pass on the same absence, you'll repeat the very cycle you swore to end, you'll become the man you once resented, but hollow inside. You denied the father, denied the masculine figure, denied any authority that smelled remotely like him, but time has a cruel way of revealing truths you thought you'd buried. One day you catch yourself yelling, same tone, same words, same coldness, and the silence that follows, it's the same one that once shattered you. You froze in the same gesture you used to despise. You saw yourself repeating the pattern, maybe with your child, maybe with your partner, maybe with yourself, punishing the man in the mirror the same way you were once punished. That's when the collapse happens, the illusion of the new man crumbles, because now you're no longer the rebel. You've become the reflection, and the most terrifying part? You didn't become him by choice. You became him because you didn't know how to become anything else. Jung once said, what you deny ends up controlling you. And now you know exactly what he meant. You didn't integrate your father, you buried him, alive, and he rotted in the basement of your psyche, sending up twisted roots that now choke you from within. You didn't want to become like him, but now he shows up in everything you do when you're tired, overwhelmed, or under pressure, in the cutting words, in the emotional distance, in your habit of running from hard conversations, in the silence you weaponize instead of offering comfort. You didn't become a monster, but you became a man without a center, no internal compass, no inner model, just someone who tried to erase the past and ended up erasing himself too. The boy who once hated his father now repeats the pain. And worse, he doesn't know how to say sorry, because he learned from him, men don't apologize, men hold it in, endure it, stay silent. But you're not being silent, you're imploding, and pretending you're fine is only dragging you further from who you were meant to be. This is no longer about what your father did. It's about what you're doing with what he left behind. You killed him, but now you have to choose, will you die with him, or build something different from the ruins? If he had apologized, if he had changed, if he had only seen what he did to me. But that's the most comfortable lie you've ever learned to tell. Because the truth is this, you didn't hold on to that pain for justice. You held on because it gave you a place to stay the silent victim, the emotional orphan, the wounded son who earned the right to never heal. You pretended to forget. But the resentment turned into bricks. It became walls. It became armor. And now, you don't know how to be a man without it. You say you're strong, but deep down, you're just numb. Afraid to look back and admit, I still miss something I chose to destroy. Yes, you had every right to walk away. Maybe what he did was unforgivable. Maybe he never deserved to come back. Maybe the pain he caused was too big, massive, irreversible. But here's the brutal truth. Carrying it this long is a form of self-harm. You're gripping thorns with a clenched fist and blaming the world for the blood. And the worst part, you're passing it forward in the way you love, in the way you run, in the way you repeat, on autopilot, the very words you once swore you'd never say, you refuse to forgive. But the one imprisoned is you, and maybe you need to hear this now. Your future self doesn't deserve this pain. Your children, even if they don't exist yet, don't deserve this baggage. You're not forgiving him, you're freeing yourself. It's not about hugging, it's not about forgetting, it's about stopping the silent bleeding of a man lost in the echo of vengeance. Vengeance against someone who may not even exist anymore. The truth you've been pretending not to know is this. Forgiveness is not weakness, it's reconstruction, it's courage, it's sovereignty. You can keep dragging the childhood backpack through your adult life. Or you can finally stand as the man your father never figured out how to be. You grew up performing strength, but any strength without structure turns into rigidity, and rigidity always breaks. You're not weak today, you're just cracked on the inside, trying to hold life together with the trembling hands of a boy who never had someone to steady him. And maybe now, finally, you're ready to see it, see that the man you killed needs to be rebuilt, but not on the outside, inside. It's no longer about him, not what he did, not what he failed to become. It's about what you choose to be from this moment forward. Will you keep acting like you're still at war with the past, or will you accept that no internal battlefield will ever win you the real world? You don't have to bring your father back, but you do have to build, with your own hands, the father you never had, one who knows how to say no, how to hold space, how to guide, how to fail, without running. Because if you don't do it, no one will, and you'll keep living as a functional adult with a frightened boy driving the soul. You'll become the man everyone sees. But who breaks in the dark? The man who works, loves, builds, but never trusts himself, because he has no reference, no center, no axis. Because he never had a father, and never found the courage to become one. This is the necessary collapse, not to destroy, but to rebuild, on truth, not rage. And if you've made it this far, it means a part of you is already ready, not to forgive the past, but to bury the wounded boy and raise the man who will teach a different way to those who come after. No more running, no more repeating, no more self-sabotage disguised as revenge for a wound you were meant to outgrow. The choice is yours, to keep being a son at war with a ghost, or become the man who builds peace where only ruins used to exist. Be the father, not for him, but for you, for what can still be built, for the sons that might come, for the strength the world hasn't seen in you yet, because it only appears when you stop running from the pain. Silence. Breathe. Now it's your turn.